Hello everybody, my name is Gonzalo, aka DJ G Silva from G Silva Sound. In this video, I'm going to show you some of the in and outs of Serato DJ Lite. It has all the basics that you need to learn how to DJ. You have access to 2 decks. What we're looking at right now is what's called the offline player. Here, I'll be able to do a mix and transition and organize my music at the same time. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you go to Serato.com to download the latest version. And there you could also see the system requirements to see if your Mac or PC will work. Unfortunately, you can't use this with an iOS or Android device or even a Chromebook. But let's get started. First thing you want to do is introduce some music into your system. So the first thing I want to do is look for a folder. I have one here from my desktop. I have one that's called R&B. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this folder and I'm going to drag it into my Serato crates down here at the bottom. Now what I want to make sure is that I don't put it into any of these other crates because I don't want to add more music to those crates. I want to have it be its own independent crate. So what I'm going to do is drag and drop this folder. And put it right underneath the last crate. Now, if this is your first time ever doing this, you don't have to worry about that. You can introduce it right into the crates. Great. Now I have them in there. The next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I have these songs analyzed. And what that's going to give me is things like BPM and also the length of my songs. So I'm going to highlight all the songs in this crate. I'm going to drag it into analyze files. Well, while that's analyzing, I want us to start understanding and looking at Serato DJ Lite. Here are our 2 decks. I have deck 1 and deck 2. Some of the functions you want to get familiar with are things like the play button, your loop or your auto loop function, your pitch control, your up and down volume, and your nudge functions, as well as your cue points. In this version, we only have access to 4 cue points. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the other thing you want to keep in mind is you also want to learn all the shortcuts that you have. So using my typing keyboard and not my DJ controller just yet, I can still do a lot of things with it. So let's load up a track first. So one way of loading up a track is by grabbing the track and dragging it into the deck that I want to play it on. The other way of loading a track is by using my pad. Oh no, I'm sorry. The other way for me to load a song and to search through my library is by using my arrow buttons. And then if I press my command and, for instance, I want to load to track 2, which is the one on the right, I'm going to press command and the right arrow key, and it'll load that song on the right side. My other shortcuts that you want to learn is things like the play button. So to press play on the left side, I can hit the letter W. And you don't stop, keep it on, keep it on, keep it on. And that's how I'll play and pause my music. On the right side, I can use the letter S. My other shortcuts that you need to know are your hot cue points. So my hot cues, like I said, we have 4 located right here, but I can access them using my number keypad. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be my 4 on my left side. The number 6, 7, 8, and 9 will be the 4 on my right side. And if I want to, I could also, if I mistakenly add a cue point and I want to erase it, I can just go into the cell for my hot cues. And if I hover my mouse over it, you'll see an X appear. And that way you can erase it. Okay. Now that I have my songs analyzed, I have a couple of cue points. I still want to make sure that these songs are, I still want to make sure that these songs are in the beat grid. Now, in order for me to edit what's called the beat grid, if we notice these lines that go up and down, especially this one over here, the 1, should be over here where the downbeat is, because that's the 1. So what I want to do is go over here to edit grid, and now I have access to my beat grid. First thing I want to do is clear any markings that I might have there. And then since this is already set to the first downbeat, which is my 1, I'm going to hit set. Now what you want to make sure is that from this point moving on, you'll see these lines correspond to the hits in the song. So I'm going to hit save and I'm going to press play.
Don't stop, keep it on, keep it on, keep it on. You don't stop, keep it on, keep it on. Where the party.
Great. So now I have these songs beat match. Let me get one more song that I might want to add to this. All right. So let's look at the bottom. So here at the bottom, we have what's our mixer section. Now remember, this is our offline mode. One thing that we are missing here that we will talk about later when we look at this controller is that we'll have access to what's called the cues. Now, our cue is our ability to listen to a track that we're about to play before we play it. So for instance, if I'm playing a song on this side, but I want them on track 2, which is on the right, and I want to listen to what's happening on track 1, right now in the offline mode, I'm unable to hear it. So let's talk about what we have here though. So currently here is what is called my crossfader. My crossfader allows me to switch from one side to the other, so I can listen to one deck or the other. I currently have my crossfader set somewhere in the middle between fast and slow. And what this allows me to control is the amount of volume that I go from one side to the other. So for instance, if I press play here, you don't hear anything right now. But if I start slowly moving it to the right, you notice that the song gets a lot louder the closer to the right I get. Now this is great for doing slow transitions. But I'm going to leave it right here in the middle. I usually have mine set to fast. And we're going to talk about that later when I show you this DJ controller. Okay. The other functions that we have here are our EQs. So we have our low, our mid, and our high. Same thing over here on the right side, the low, mids, and highs. And what they control is those frequencies. So if I press play here,
Let's take a little time and talk about.
I could turn down each of those frequencies and bring them back up. Now what's cool about this is that these are full kill, which basically means if I turn them all the way to the left, you don't hear anything. But if I slowly move it up, now if I press the circles that's right above them, they'll bring them right back and snap them back to the 0. Now, this filter kind of works similar to how these EQs work. Now, the difference is that this filter is only one knob and it goes from left to right. In the middle, that means it's full on. But if I move it to the right, it'll give me a high pass filter, which will make my sound hollow. So let's play with that. And in the opposite direction, when I move to the right, when I move to the left, and in the opposite direction, when I move the knob to the left, it'll sound muffled, which is called a low pass filter. Great. So let's try to create a transition between these two songs. Now, the offline player is really meant for you to just practice your mixes. So let's practice a little bit. What I want to do first is make sure that my BPMs are matched. So I'm going to start playing the song on the left, which is at 105.5 beats per minute. Now the song on the right is 106.5 beats per minute. So that means I need to drop this 1 beat per minute slower. Great. So now I'm going to start with the left side. So let's play this Coffee Brown beat.
Don't stop, keep it on, keep it on, keep it on. You don't stop, keep it on, keep it on. Where the party at? After the party, let's take a little time and talk about it. What's going through your mind? Ask me, share.
Great. So that was a good transition from one song to the other. Now, the key to doing all this is that not only do you want to make sure that your beats are synced up, but you also want to make sure that you are syncing them up by pressing the cue point to help you catch the beat. So, for instance, if you wanted to hear how this would sound,
You can't tell me you ain't feeling the same, girl. It's our chemistry, like icing on a cake. I hope you stay so we can do our thing after the party. Keep doing your thing. What's it gonna be? I don't need nobody else.
great. Now, it is a little difficult to try to just do all this using your mouse, but this is why we have a controller right here. Okay? So let's hook up the controller and let's try to create the same type of transitions, but let's also look at the controller and see the other functions that we have available to us.